Wait, what's that? Seth Rogen will be playing Donkey Kong in the upcoming Mario movie? Wait, what was that noise? Seth Rogen! So obviously we know the official cast for the Mario movie was released last week, and I think Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong will be hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. And this also lines up pretty well because the video I wanted to bring out next was a Donkey Kong video. So here we are. Let's get right into it and get to a brief background of the Donkey Kong platformer games, and then we'll get right into Tropical Freeze. In 1994, Rare teamed up with Nintendo to publish one of the most famous platformer games of all time, Donkey Kong Country. This game was so popular, in fact, that it spawned two sequels, 1995's Donkey Kong Country 2 and, not surprisingly, 1996 Donkey Kong Country 3. So Rare was making quick work of these 2D Donkey Kong platformers, releasing them in back-to-back years. These new Donkey Kong games were so popular, in fact, that we actually got to see Rare take on Donkey Kong into a 3D platformer, which was 1999's Donkey Kong 64. DK64 was unlike anything that had been seen to that point. It even went a different route with the story, with a brief description of the game being as such. As the gorilla Donkey Kong, the player explores the themed levels of an island to collect items and rescue his kidnapped friends from King K. Rool. One commonality that all of these Donkey Kong games had in common was the developer, Rare. Rare was a highly successful company with games like Banjo-Kazooie and GoldenEye 007. Rare was so successful, in fact, that there became a high price for the company. And in 2002, Microsoft purchased Rare for $375 million. Therefore, Rare became a first-party developer for Microsoft. And as you can imagine, this made things complicated. Donkey Kong was a Nintendo franchise, but they had all of their best games developed by Rare, who is now owned by one of the biggest competition in Microsoft. So that's very, that complicates things. Therefore, there was a massive drought in Donkey Kong games for a long time. In 2010, Nintendo finally decided to revive the franchise by teaming up with developers Retro Studios and Monster Games to create Donkey Kong Country Returns, a return to the Country franchise's roots. Side-scrolling platformers. On the brand new Wii hardware, this game ran like a charm. It was an amazing game and served as a great revival to the Country franchise and the Donkey Kong games as a whole, who had kind of fallen off at this point. There were a few aspects about this game that had some people weirded out, such as the implementation of motion controls, but at the same time, that was like the Wii's entire selling point. Me personally, I think the motion controls in Country Returns worked great. Donkey Kong as a platformer game had shown to be a successful franchise, but of course we have to show love to the original arcade Donkey Kong, which obviously started the character's popularity. After DK Country Returns brought back the franchise, there was an inevitable sequel coming. The sequel was first announced during Nintendo's E3 2013 Nintendo Direct presentation on June 11, 2013, and this game would be set to release on February 14, 2014. So, in 2014, Nintendo had teamed up again with Retro Studios to create this sequel called Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Wii U. Finally, we get into the game that this video is about. This game was a direct sequel to Donkey Kong Country Returns and was the fifth installment in the Country franchise. However, this game was simply not as popular due to the Wii U itself being not that popular. Obviously, it sold a lot, but it was definitely ported to the Switch for a reason. In addition to reviewing better, the Nintendo Switch version of Tropical Freeze sold way better. In Japan alone, the game sold over 88,000 units in the first 5 days of release, more than doubling its debut on the Wii U. By December 2018, the game had sold 2.08 million copies worldwide on the Switch, bringing total sales to over 4 million units across both platforms. That all being said, the version I'm playing in this video is the 2018 Switch port of it. This game was ported to the Switch to try to sell more copies, which I said definitely worked, and I think this ended up as one of the best 2D platformers on the Switch. This game follows a similar story to the other Country games and even DK64. Basically, someone has taken something from Donkey Kong, and he's got to get it back. A brief background of the story is the following. Arctic invaders have turned Donkey Kong Island into their personal frozen fortress, and it's up to you to save the day. Play as Donkey Kong in original mode and team up with Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and Cranky Kong, each with unique abilities to overcome platforming challenges and frosty foes. We find out instantly that this game takes place on DK's birthday, which is fitting due to its original release date coming on the 20th year anniversary of the original Donkey Kong Country. The main villain in this game is Lord Frederick, who has frozen the entire DK island and is basically stronger than DK in every way. He proves to be a worthy adversary, but of course we all know who's going to win in the end. To reach Frederick, Tropical Freeze sees you traveling through 6 different vast worlds. Lost Mangroves, Autumn Heights, Bright Savannah, Seabreeze Cove, Juicy Jungle, and of course DK Island, where he resides at the top. Each of these worlds are full of different experiences, landmarks, and themes, and I love every world and they each feel unique and different. Aesthetically, this game is basically the same as Country Returns, with HD upscaled graphics of course. Tropical Freeze is a beautiful game and has amazing level design, with the backgrounds rivaling even Sonic Mania when it comes to colors and overall pop. Tropical Freeze also reintroduces Dixie and introduces Cranky Kong as said, and they have different abilities. They are definitely welcome parts of the game, with Dixie being able to fly up and glide down for a few seconds, and Cranky being able to bounce on spikes without taking damage. Diddy Kong also makes his return in this game, with his jetpack hovering ability still working as well as it did in Returns. Also new is the Kong Pow meter, in which you can use this to turn any enemy on screen into an item, depending on the side character you have with you. It's a pretty cool feature, but I found myself forgetting about it quite often. Brand new on the Switch version, there's also a kind of easy mode, I guess? This comes in the form of Funky Mode, in which you get to play as Funky Kong. He comes with more unique abilities and extra hearts. Funky also runs a shop in this game, and he sells items similar to Cranky Kong in Country Returns. We'll talk more about Funky Kong later. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the main man DK. He comes with his basic set of moves such as the barrel roll, grabbing and throwing, and packing his friends on his back. DK's gameplay in this game is near perfect. Although difficult sometimes, it's still the most polished gameplay style for him yet. DK feels heavy as his jump isn't too high, and you have to use his different abilities such as the barrel roll combined with the jump to reach other higher places. You will also run into and ride on the back of Rambi the Rhino, who makes his return in this game. As I said, DK and his friends are a lot of fun to play with, but with that also said, Funky Kong is like eternally more fun to play. Like Funky is basically just DK, but like super overpowered. It's honestly a ton of fun to play as Funky, and honestly I think he's the best part of the game. He may not get help from the other characters, but he doesn't need them. He gets a double jump, a surfboard that protects him from spikes, and he can even fall slowly. Honestly, it's just a ton of fun. Sure, it may take some of the difficulty out of this game, but it allows so many more gameplay possibilities that I think it just works so well. That being said, DK and the crew are still a ton of fun to play as. This game's main collectibles come in the form of Kong letters and puzzle pieces, so nothing too different than what we'd seen in the past. Honestly, the collecting is cool and all, but I don't really have the patience to go for all of them because I'm just not that much of a completionist anyways, especially for Nintendo games since there's not an achievement system with Gamerscore like there is for Xbox and PlayStation. Some of the collectibles are hard to get and you will have problems with them, especially on the auto-scrolling levels, such as the minecart levels. DKC Tropical Freeze introduces a new camera angle as well, as you'll notice some auto-played aspects swing into a 3-dimensional camera angle. It adds a lot to the gameplay, and although you mostly just watch it happen, it still enhances the experience a ton. This game also introduced underwater levels, in which the developers for Country Returns wanted to add back then. Also for the Switch version, a new control scheme was added. I enjoyed it, and you don't have to use motion controls at all, which I did not because I'm not a huge fan of the motion controls on the Switch. The game's soundtrack was mostly composed by David Wise, who definitely isn't a stranger to the series. He's been making music since the original Country games on the SNES. This game's soundtrack is truly full of bangers. Like, it just adds to the game perfectly. And yes, I do say this about like every game's soundtrack, but I mean, come on. Music adds flavor to games. Could you imagine playing any games without music? It would be completely soulless. Tropical Freeze is one of the best ported games from the Wii U. It's overall a great port that added new things, unlike 3D All-Stars, and made the game actually worth the purchase again. For me, I never had a Wii U, so the whole repurchase thing was never a thing. I think this game is a great buy for anyone as it holds up amazingly in 2021. There are so many things about Tropical Freeze that make it extremely underrated. I haven't seen people put it up there as one of the best platformers on Switch. Maybe they do, but I just don't see it happening very often. I would give this game a 9.5 out of 10 for the Switch version. While I do think this game provides me with everything I could have asked for, it also didn't absolutely blow my mind, you know? While it is a fantastic game on its own, it does feel very similar to Country Returns in many ways. It is still an amazing game, however, and I would definitely recommend this game to anyone looking for some DK goodness.